And the purpose of relevance engineering is to show the right information to the right user at the right time. It's not just about keywords, it's about concepts and the topics you have talked about. And it's always a good idea to about ambiguity and always provide the specific data. Go through your content with the lens of relevance engineering. Hi, my name is Ahmad Khan, and today we will talk about relevance engineering. So, you can see here I have added the information in easy to follow format. In I have mentioned the practical steps, and I have detailed the you know these complex topics into easy to follow and practical format. But before we dive deeper into all that information, let's talk about the benefit. So this is the graph of one of our e-commerce store, and we are working for that client for the last 2 to 3 years. And here you can see the orders we have generated for that client. And here we have multiple case studies in e-commerce industry, and we are working with clients having websites in some of the most competitive niches. And you know what? When you're working in a competitive niche, then you have to think beyond from traditional practices. We are implementing different semantic SEO principles, uh, and after the AI search, we are also improving the visibility for different generative AI models. So let's talk about relevance engineering. So why we optimize our content for that first. So before, when we talk about SEO, like the old SEO, then we were optimizing content for just keywords. So there was a concept of keywords, like people search for different keywords while looking for the information. But the way how information is uh, ranked or presented to that old, that old ecosystem, that's totally changed. Because now there are different ways how the information is processed, and how that information is understood by different technologies used by generative AI models or different search engines, and the way is totally changed now. So it's not just about keywords. So before, for the relevance, we were using different keywords in our content. So you remember that we were using different long tail keywords, and some primary keywords, uh, and using different terms in the content. So the reason why we were using all that stuff is for improving the relevance. So the philosophy was to use those keywords, like long tail keywords and short tail keywords, in the content, and then uh, there will be more chances for ranking that content higher. So Google might rank that content more higher for the specific keywords you have used in the content. But now the things are changed, and the way how the information is extracted and how the information is processed and served to the users, that's totally changed now. So now we are talking about not just about search engines, but we are talking about how generative AI models using that information on your website or the web page, and then showing that information to their users. So if we talk about the benefit for the user, so generative AI models help users uh, to solve their problems. But before these models, Google was doing the same, but in a different way. So people were searching different keywords, and then they get the content, and they get the information from that content, and uh, yeah, they find the solutions to their problems. But now, as things have changed, and as the search behavior or the overall technology is changed now, So people search for the information mostly uh, on generative AI models. It's not just about that Google users are less now, but it's just about the change in the search behavior. So now people are more tend to search for the information in long prompts, or looking for the solutions to their exact problems. So for that purpose, it's not enough to just use keywords. And the purpose of relevance engineering is to show the right information to the right user at the right time. And the purpose of all that stuff is to solve the user problem, or fulfill the user intent, or whatever the main goal that user has in mind. So we optimize our content, or optimize this overall experience to fulfill that specific goal or the problem the user has. So it looks like simple, but honestly it's like a total engineering, and the way how the content is created, and how the overall campaigns are created. So they must be aligned with these kind of changes, and these kind of you know the new or the updated technologies. So let's dig deeper into that. So it's not just about keywords. Obviously, we have already discussed that. So you can't use keywords in your content and then say that now it's relevant, because things are not just about keywords. They are about meaning. They are about uh, the actual topics, or the concepts, or the context you have mentioned in your content. So keyword stuffing wouldn't help you to get more benefit in this age, on this era. So it depends on. So first, let's talk about what's actually is. So it's about making the content relevant for user's query. So user's query or the user prompt. So you try to make your content on your website relevant to that user query. So these are two things. One is the query or the prompt, and the other thing is the content. So relevance is always between two things. There is not one thing. So easier. And while you do all that stuff, while you make your content relevant to the user query or the prompt, you also make your content or the information easily extractable for search engines. Because if there are some issues in extracting the information, then the relevance wouldn't be not so good. To improve the relevance, you have to make sure that the content is accessible, and it's easily extractable. So it's not like saying that it's extractable, but for making the content extractable, we follow the whole methodology, which we will discuss later, like how you can make sure that the content on your page, on your product page, or the category or collection page, it's easily extractable. So this is a total engineering. We will talk about that later. So there are two things involved in relevance engineering. The one is the semantic scoring, and the other one is passage optimization. So scoring is like a score. Uh, while before we were discussing about information retrieval score, and that score is related to the relevance. And information retrieval is the foundation for search engines, how they figure out the relevance, and how they also degrade that based on other factors, for example eat or other stuff as well. So what actually this semantic scoring does is so measure conceptual and content relevance of a piece of content. So you have the content, and that score is used to measure that these elements in your content, how relevant your content is in terms of the context you have used or the concepts you have used. It's not just about keywords, it's about concepts and the topics you have talked about. So it's also about the meaning, which we have already discussed. Like it's about the connection of your topic meaning with the query or the prompt. So if your content is aligned with the meaning or the different possible uh, different possible such possibilities of the users, then it means that it has a good semantic score, right? So the other thing is the passage optimization. So the passage optimization is, if we talk about it simply, so you have the whole web page, right? And that web page, it could be a product page or whatever the page you have on your website. So you optimize that page or the individual elements of that page in a way that they are optimized for relevance, and you have engineered that page for the better relevance so that your content can be extracted easily and can be more relevant to the users. So two things are important: strategic content for relevance and extractability. So here we can see some of the important elements of this structuring. So if we dive deep into that structuring, you can see that optimizing headings based on queries and prompts. So let's say you're writing about any topic and you can simply write about that by just thinking about that topic. Like for example, if an expert writer is writing about a specific topic, then he can simply write based on the expertise that specific writer has. So let's say if a doctor is writing about that topic, for example. So a doctor might write on a topic simply based on the personal experience. But that's not enough, because we have to connect that content with the actual user. So uh, there could be some loopholes in the content, because the doctor or the expert has written a content based on his personal experience, but that content is not matched how the people are searching for, how the ICP or how the users are searching for the relevant information, how they are looking for that specific information, what terms they use, or how they look for, how they interact with the technology while they look for the relevant information about that topic. So let's say a doctor could add, some important things or uh, some important elements, but those could not be relevant to the actual users. So the actual users such behaviors or the possible queries must be matched with the content. So the that will improve the structure of the content, and the headings you use in the content must be aligned with how users search for that information. So let's say if you are creating the content for a recipe, let's say you have an e-commerce store and you sell different accessories, or like kitchen related accessories, or some tools related to recipe, and you're writing a recipe for that. So you could write a recipe in your way, but if you are focusing on the user, so you will be using exact terms users use. So for example, what are the ingredients, what could be the temperature, or what could be the tools. So try to make sure that the headings must be aligned with the users. So the other things, uh, which are so I think these are not the things which are different from the classic SEO or the SEO we were doing before generative AI models. But these things are now we are focusing on these things a lot, because the way how generative AI models extract the content and they get the content idea, that's different. And we have to make sure that our content is aligned with that. So the headings and subheadings should be clear. They should be aligned with the paragraph or the passage. They should be self-explanatory. It's so important, and they should be contextually aligned. So while before we were doing, like, for doing semantic SEO, we try to make sure that we don't break the context vector. Like the proper H1 we have used, then the H2, then the H2 or the H3, then the H2. So all these headings, they align with each other, and the context is properly aligned. So for example, if we talk about practically, let's say we are talking about uh, let's say we are talking about an attribute of any topic. Like, for example, if we are talking about running in our heading, and after that, if we don't break the context, we can use headings like fitness, health, diet with that, right? So that contextual alignment between headings make sure that our content is properly structured and we have used the clear structure in our content. So the other important elements are, you can use the passage after that heading that should answer the question with no fluff. So the fluff, so what's defined as fluff? So fluff in simple terms is the word that simply wastes the cost uh, of the generative AI model, or the Google or the Google, and also waste the time for user, and that is the fluff which doesn't add any information or any value to the actual topic. It's not helpful for solving the problem. It could be, like, it could be any word, or even any sentence or any phrase that's not actually helpful. That's just a waste of the time. So if a user see any fluff in your content, so he may simply bounce, or your and the likelihood of doing business with your doing business while reading your content would be impacted badly, because there is a fluff and you're not actually helping that user. So the sections must be properly defined. Either you are using tables, bullet points, you are using the structure in your content that is properly defined based on the main topic and based on how users find helpful or easier to process that information or digest that information. So that's also one of the most important thing, which I think of discussed discussed, or that aspect is much overlooked in our SEO industry. That aspect is, while you're writing the content, try to make sure that a user, while read your content, he can get the actual idea or uh, solution to his problem very quickly. So if you save the time of user, then you will get the benefit of that as well. Like, it can be easily skimmed, it can be easily scanned, because there are some studies which shows that most of the users, while reading the content, they skim through the content first. So let's say if a user land on your page and he's scanning your page. So if he, while scanning, if he get the actual information or the valuable information, then it's helpful for your experience or the web page. Then he might find some time afterwards and then go through the actual content. So it really depends on how you are solving the problem. But obviously, it depends if the user is actually reading your content, because most of the time the content is simply shown in uh, generative AI models. So a user read the content and then reach on the website just for performing any action like buying something or booking for something. So this is what we are discussing here, that the whole uh, search behavior is changed now. It's not like a user is reading the complete guide or blog, and then let's say 100 users are reading that blog, and then some users are booking. And this was the experience before generative AI models. But now most of the information, users don't spend time on websites. They just get the information in while getting while in the conversation with generative AI models. So here you can see the practical steps. So it's not just about theory, and I am also a good advocate of uh, making sure that you get the practical information which you can implement in your uh, website right away. So use clear information architecture to better communicate the topical authority. So by information architecture, we mean that we have to cover topics that are aligned together, that are semantically relevant together. And while covering those topics, we also cover the headings or different contexts that are also aligned with the specific page. So for example, if we are creating the information architecture of an e-commerce website. So let's say we have covered products, we have covered categories, but for the other sections, we have to make sure that we cover the complete search behavior of those products or those categories. And those topics we create that should be aligned semantically together, that should support each other, that should work as clusters together. So while covering those topics, or whatever the pages we have on a website. So semantic internal linking is so important. You have to use descriptive anchor text for that. It's it using descriptive anchor tags. So it's not like so hard, but still we see while working with different clients, we see different examples where the anchor text is purely spammed. So what they generally do is they use the exact keywords multiple times, or they simply use the generic anchor text like click here or whatever the anchor text they try to use, or the thing which we often face is, so let's say you're writing the content, so you have to internal link to another page. So the problem which I have often seen is they try to shoehorn, or they try to uh, they try to spam that specific sentence. They use the sentence, they use a unhelpful sentence or contextless sentence just for the purpose of internal linking. So that's purely bad. So you just write the content and you just internal link naturally based on your contextual flow. So don't break the contextual flow while internal linking. And while internal linking, we use uh, you know, multiple SOPs we follow. So the anchor text must be matched with the destination page headings. How many anchor texts we have to use? What should be the ratio for them? So we have created these kind of systems in our agency to make sure that we are not spamming that specific that specific signals, because these are the signals which help models or to understand the topicality of your website. And the clusters you create, they must be semantically relevant, and they must be linking together to improve the relevance. And uh, the content you create on your website, it's always a bad idea to use keywords uh, in a spammed way or stuff those keywords. Think So what you have to, like, if you're not using keywords, so how you have to think, like, so you have to think like you are a user, or you have to mention the topics or the terms which are used by uh, the end user. And there are different ways, practically, which we will discuss afterwards. So you can use different or other techniques, or uh, you know uh, other strategies as well, to actually understand what are the main keywords, or what are the main terms your actual users look for while searching for the information about a specific topic. So retrieval is so important. Uh, your passages must be optimized into easy language, not hard, and clearly understandable, with proper sentences, and each with facts, and each with specific information, and that can be easily retrieved or extracted. And while you write the content, the NLP has advanced a lot. So there are different ways how Google or other models come up with the topicality of your content. Like, they see the actual entities you have used, and how you are connected those entities with other entities based on the different attributes. What are the connections you have used, or the attributes you have used? So that actually help your content uh, to to make sure that your content is optimized for certain entities in your knowledge domain, and those entities must be mentioned in your content in natural way. You don't have to uh, over optimize those entities, so you don't have to overuse those entities or the main terms which you're writing about. So what you can do is you can use an entity, and then you can use some highly relevant synonyms, or you can also repeat that entity but not so much time. And you can also uh, you can also make sure that the entity you are using in your content, that is widely used or recognizable. It's not just like you write that about that specific entity. And Wikipedia is a good example here, and or you can search Google, how different other high quality sources name that specific entity. So you can use that kind of terminologies while writing the content. And you can use structured data. So what actually structured data does is, it helps communicate the structure of your complete website. Yes, content is helpful for communicate the information of your website with different models. But when you use structured data, so it makes the job easier for models to understand the structure of the content and the connection between different aspects. So let's say if you have used FAQ structured data, or the organization structured data, so it makes their job easier to understand the actual structure, or uh, you know getting the relevant information about your brand. So we have discussed before that what are the ways how we can actually understand how users look for the information, or what are the terms they use. So one of the technology is which we often use here in our agency is query parsing. So query parsing is how you parse different queries. So first of all, you have to understand that Google as a search engine parse different queries. So you have to parse different queries, and you can come up with multiple probabilities, how different queries can be parsed, and then you can make sure that you are using those specific terms, because prompts are used by generative AI models. So people search for different no people search for different types of information in in by writing different prompts. So you can also optimize for queries and prompts as well by uh, improving the word usage in your headings or the overall paragraph. So it's not a good idea to write complex topics or the long topics in your content. Like if you have the product page, so it's not a good idea to write to just create a wall of information on that product page. So you can use you can use different structures for that and make sure that that is easily synthesizable and uh, like the structure you are using that is easy to understandable for different models. So you can use listicles, headings, um, and the passages are self-explanatory, and you can also use different annotations in your content to make sure that easily understandable. And it's always a good idea to avoid ambiguity and always provide the specific data. So uh, mentioning uh, all these kind of things in your content or improving your content around these steps, so they help your content to you know to become more relevant to different queries, and they improve the relevance, and it's actually engineering your content. So let's say if you have the writer or if you have trained any AI model to write the content, so it's a good idea to go through your content with the lens of relevance engineering. So it will help you a lot to uh, you know to find the loopholes in your current content strategy, and it will help you a lot to optimize to do a lot of optimizations, some advanced optimizations in your content to get more discovery, to get your content more uh, obviously ranking in different classic search engines and getting more visibility in generative AI models. So thank you so much for your time. You can subscribe this channel. Please hit we will share different we love to share these kind of mind maps and these kind of information. And you can also join our school community, because in school community I will be adding multiple courses, some free courses, and we'll be sharing this this premium knowledge free of cost so that you can get the benefit from them. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Bye bye.